the family. You know, you don't have to hesitate. Just come on in. Come on in. Sit down. I saw you peeking beneath the window. I bet you're wondering just what's going on. So quit your sneaking around. This is where you belong. So open up the doors now. Welcome to the temple. Welcome to the sanctuary. You don't have to worry. Just come on in. Welcome to the presence. Welcome to the family. You know, you don't have to hesitate. Just come on in. Come on in and sit down. Now did you notice all the love around you? And did you hear all the voices raised in song? I hope you get yourself dancing and singing along. So let your body move now. Welcome to the temple. Welcome to the sanctuary. You don't have to worry. Just come on in. Welcome to the presence. Welcome to the family. You know, you don't have to hesitate. Just come on in. Come on in and sit down to the beat now. Welcome, welcome, come on in. Welcome, welcome, come on in. Welcome, 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 come on in. Come on in. Welcome, 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 come on in. Welcome, 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 come on in. Welcome, welcome. Come on in, welcome, welcome, come on in, welcome, welcome, yeah, yeah, come on in and sit down, sit yourself down. Good morning.
Are you doing a second song?
We are, but
oh, yay. Okay.
When the world gets you down and you're feeling lonely, when you can't find your truth or find your center, there are many here who gather together. Oh, unconditionally, we love each other, and the scars that we see just make you stronger. We breathe it in together. We'll hold you up with grace. You know that love lives here in you and me. Love lives here. My soul breaks free. I'm so excited to be united with you. Where love lives here. Where love lives here. When life gets you down, you can't see the future. When it all seems too much for you to handle, there are many here who gather together. Yeah, yeah. Unconditionally, we love each other, and the hurt that you feel will be set free. We breathe it in together. We'll hold you up with grace. You know that love lives here in you and me. Love lives here. My soul breaks free. I'm so excited to be united with you. Where love lives here. Where love lives here. Where love lives here.
So good morning. My name is, oh yay, you said good morning. Woohoo. My name is Allison Berry, one of your licensed spiritual practitioners. We at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living acknowledge that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Cahuilla, Gabrielino Tongva, Kich, and Luiseño peoples. We commit to live in right relations, to love our neighbors, to seek justice and loving kindness, and to walk humbly on this land. We recognize our oneness so that we decolonize our minds and set each other free from the pain of racism and violence, to live better as God intended, in harmony with nature and with one another. So again, good morning and welcome. I think we deserve gold stars for making it through the barricades of the Mission Inn run yet another time. Woo-hoo. Congratulations, and welcome to everybody who is tuning in online with us. If you're doing that live stream, be sure to type in where you're watching from. I have the honor of hosting today as our beloved Reverend Jeffrey is being the guest speaker up in Las Vegas. So we know all is well with him and all is well with us too. I want to remind you that if you're in the sanctuary, please silence your cell phones so that our time together is uninterrupted. And of course, we've got a great guest speaker who's not so much of a guest. She's homegrown, but in any case, we're in for a treat later on. And now we need to get up and get ourselves going again and with some music, and we know it, so here we go.
We're so glad Manny came. Pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. Ooh, wonderful Spirit, shine your light in me, shine your light into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour your joy in me, pour your joy into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, sing your song in me, sing your song into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Ooh, wonderful Spirit. Good morning. I'm Constance Stringfellow, one of the licensed spiritual practitioners here at the Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. Practitioner Francis Drake and I will be available after service for a brief moment of prayer in the prayer room in the lobby. Please don't leave here with anything on your heart. We love to pray, and we absolutely know that prayer works. So please join me in consciousness. I invite you to close your eyes if this is comfortable for you. Moving into the heart space, taking in a deep, cleansing breath. Breathing in love and breathing out love. Knowing that God is the very air that we breathe. God is love. God is perfect peace. God is wisdom. God is vibrant health and abundant wealth. God is wholeness and beauty, divine intelligence. There's only one power, one present, one life, one creative source of all. And we are one with all people, and there can be no separation in this oneness. This divine energy is everywhere present. Today and every day, let's commit to go deeper, deepening our understanding and acceptance of others. Let's choose to know the highest good for all. Let's know that the greatest love can change any adversity. As we open our lives to this greatest love, the greatest good would show up in our lives and our affairs. The good we send out will return to us. So let's just imagine the good unflowing without stressing as perfect health, loving relationships, peace, joy, abundant wealth, and so much more. And know that all things are possible with God. I bless this service today, everyone listening and everyone who's trying to get here today. I know that peace comes with them. And peace, love, and joy is with us today and every day. And I just let this be so. And so it is. got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. My God is so good to me. In my meditation, God is so good. In my meditation, God is so good. In my meditation now, God is so good. My God is so good to me. In my time of triumph, God is so good. In my time of triumph, God is so good. In my time of triumph, God is so good. My God is so good to me. When my day is over, God is so good. When my day is over, God is so good. When my day is over, God is so good. My God is so good to me. My God is so good to me. My God is so good to me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jeff and Jubel. And fabulous to also have Max and Manny here. We love it.
Yay.
Manny, you made it. Yay.
Yes, we made it.
Awesome. We are blessed. God is good. And so now we get to come together and say our focus statement together. I was thinking this morning that we might do it with all the J's. So how about, I only thought of 3, so you got to help me. Joy, jubilation, jam, joviality, jive. Hey, jive. Okay. All right. Is that it? I know. I couldn't think of too many either, but it's good. So it's all good. And Raymond Charles Barker used to always say, when I'd hear him as a kid, say things together with great authority, like spiritual authority. So let's do the authority thing. And you got to shout it through the masks so that everyone at home can hear you. So here we go. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Woo, that was fabulous. Love it, love it. Okay, so I get to introduce our speaker today, who really needs no introduction. She is the Minister of Transformation right here at our center. And also, I just wanted to mention that she is the Vice Chair, I had to write this down, of the Centers for Spiritual Living Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee. Isn't that impressive? Yes. And we are so proud of all the work you're doing with that committee, and it's just awesome, very meaningful. So here we go with our talk from beloved Reverend Dr. Victoria Bomberry.
Good morning, everyone. You know, it's so wonderful to be here in the sanctuary today. And I want to welcome all of you. I like looking out there and seeing everyone and just feeling that beautiful energy that vibrates throughout this sanctuary. And, you know, I was kind of kicking some ideas around my head when before, while Allison was talking, right? And I thought, well, she said I'm homegrown. And I thought, yeah, I really am homegrown. And I'm kind of like a cicada, right? Didn't we have this bloom of cicadas this year? Right? Well, I've been here for 17 years. And when I came to Riverside, I was looking for a home, a spiritual home. I came out of Unity, and I kind of called around to see what the Unity congregation was like, and I visited it, and it just wasn't vibing with me, right? And I called this church, and the most beautiful voice came on the line, and it was Reverend Mary. And I felt like, oh my gosh, that's where I belong. And I've been here ever since. So, this has been a wonderful transformation. And, I had a different profession. And when I retired from that, I started getting more into the spiritual part of my life. Not that it wasn't there, but I could focus almost exclusively on it. And it was so wonderful just to feel that. So 17 years later, I'm here as a part of your ministerial staff. And I just wanted to mention, Allison brought this up, and she may mention it again. On Tuesday, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee will have a webinar, and it's an Indigenous webinar titled Indigenous Resilience and Wellness, Using Spiritual Principle in Everyday Life. So we have a wonderful guest speaker for that webinar, whose name is Theta Newbreast, and I've known her since she was a young woman, student at UC Berkeley. And, it's just kind of wonderful to grow up with all of these people, grow up with you all, and grow up with someone like Theta, who has gone on to do this tremendous work out in the world. So I'm just welcoming all of you here. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm just so happy that we can be here celebrating. And for all of those people who are watching us virtually, welcome. We feel your energy too. And I just have to mention that the band was awesome this morning, right? And when Manny walked in with those drums, that raised the roof, right? So here we are. We've got all of this joy, all of this energy, and all of this love that we're sharing today. This month we've been exploring what it means to be in community. And in the early, and we've been looking at a proverb. And in the early 20th century, a proverb began circulating throughout the world that presaged the current interest in, you know what, my eyes are getting worse. Okay, I'm going to have to hold this a little bit closer. Began circulating throughout the world that presaged the current interest in re-examining human collectivity rather than the cult of individuality that Western culture has mythologized as the highest realization of human beings. So that's been the norm, right? And in the 21st century, something else started to emerge. A different kind of look at what we are becoming. And the emerging trend of turning towards community and collectivity can be summed up in the reworking of a proverb that is attributed to parts of Africa, both East and West Africa. The Luho rendition says, "Alone a youth runs fast, with an elder slow, but together they go far." What has emerged in popular culture for the past 20 years or so is alone you can go faster. Together, we can go further. The latter accentuates teamwork and cooperation, while the Luho proverb emphasizes the naivete of youth and the wisdom of age, combining to carry us further. These are complementary energetics that are both necessary. I like looking at both of these readings to take our 21st century pulse on how we feel about community right now. And I'm just going to step back into the 20th century and then into the 19th century. So the adage that was circulating then, mentioning this individuality or the cult of individuality was, he who travels alone travels fastest. That was what was emphasized, just that part. And look at what a tremendous shift occurs when we amplify this proverb and deepen into it. And what does that feel like? Oh my gosh, that's a huge, huge difference. Desmond Tutu says, we are living in a historic moment. We are each called to take part in a great transformation. Our survival as a species is threatened by global warming, economic meltdown, an ever-increasing gap between rich and poor. Yet these threats offer an opportunity to awaken as an interconnected and beloved community. Unquote. The great transformation has both a spiritual and material aspect to it. We are spiritual beings having a human incarnation, as Reverend Michael Beckwith likes to remind us. And each of these aspects is holy, both the spiritual part of us and the material part of us. To be human is to be holy. As we transform our consciousness to take into account our responsibility for ourselves, our communities, and ultimately the planet, we simultaneously radically alter the material conditions of life. There is more than enough for everyone to live with their basic needs met: food, clothing, housing, education, healthcare. And yet, we are still struggling to move out of that old paradigm and that old narrow way of looking at things that rests in the belief that we only look out for ourselves, our narrow self-interests. There isn't enough to go around. I'll get mine. And maybe most dangerous of all is the belief that more material goods or money is better. This thinking leads to foolhardy behavior that puts everyone in jeopardy. Okay, one of the most influential researchers on happiness is the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I had to practice that a lot to say that. Whose more than 4 decades of work shows that once a basic standard of living is reached, once we have just that basic amount of money, it doesn't really add to our happiness. It doesn't do that. Not even a little bit. Of course, there are things that money helps with, right? If we have shelter, and we can pay our rent, yeah, that really helps. But once we get to that point, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't automatically mean that we are happier. And it doesn't, the research shows it doesn't work like that. And he coined a term called flow to speak about optimal human experience that has nothing to do with more material goods, but everything to do with more engagement with life. When one is in the flow, the results are more joy, greater happiness, greater intrinsic motivation. Wow, I like how that sounds. More motivation, increased engagement, improved performance, more learning and skill development. The more is how we experience life. That's where the more comes in. Experiencing life. That's the more. Being in the flow gives us a taste of self-transcendence that comes from the mystical union with God. Of course, we could have peak experiences and in one area of our life and be completely detached from community or the common good. There are many examples of people who excel in their vocations or professions, and they have these peak experiences galore, but nonetheless, they don't move beyond that. It doesn't go into the rest of their life because they haven't gone beyond living from the ego. They feel alienated or separate from others and ultimately from spirit. And you can probably think of some examples of this and, think of someone who is a great actor or a great musician or a great surgeon, and yet they have all of these personal problems in their life, right? But they can have the peak experience in their profession. And, I want to talk about the ego a little bit because so often we pose the ego as the villain in our story, right? And I don't want to do that today. I want us to have some compassion for those egos. Freud, who formulated a theory of ego, and he's considered the founder of modern psychology, he saw the ego as a tragic figure. A tragic figure. And that's probably why the ego behaves in the way that it does, because it's so overworked. Just think about it. Think about what the ego is set up to do. It's charged with protecting us and running interference for us as we move through the world and all of the challenges and perceived threats that we have about living in the world. Andrew Cooper points out that, quote, it is at once the reality principle and the seat of anxiety. Does that sound familiar? Being saddled with mediating conflicting demands, controlling instinctive impulses, withstanding the superego's perfectionist recriminations, and negotiating the endless travails on the path of life is no picnic. Right? Unquote. My God, it is no picnic for our poor egos. So let's give some gratitude and kindness to our egos and let them have more time off through our spiritual practices. We are also fortunate to have spiritual laws to point the way for us. One of the universal spiritual laws that humans have been given by the prophets and sages of all peoples of the world is the Golden Rule. Religious studies scholar Karen Armstrong offers this, quote, compassion is aptly summed up in the Golden Rule, which asks us to look into our own hearts, discover what gives us pain, and then refuse under any circumstance whatsoever to inflict that pain on another. Unquote. To live the Golden Rule is the height of spiritual maturity. If we could just live that one rule, we would be living in peace and we would be living in that paradise that we know was created for us. One of the most influential spiritual thinkers of the 20th century was Martin Luther King Jr., who tasked us with building the beloved community. You know, that's where that term comes from. He's the one who made it rise up in our consciousness. You know, we've talked about community, we've lived in community forever, but this is something that he brought forward out of this crucible of all of these kinds of things that, you know, all of that pain and suffering that was inflicted on oppressed people. He was able to crystallize that idea for us and to set that as our sight for our future. This is where we're going. We're building. We're enacting and embodying the beloved community. And he says, love is creative and redemptive. Love builds up, and hate tears down and destroys. The aftermath of the fight with fire method is bitterness and chaos. The aftermath of the love method is reconciliation and creative of the beloved community. Yes, love, which means understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill, even for one's enemies, is the solution. Oh, and let's put that next to Ernest Holmes, what Ernest Holmes says. One of the things that resonates with me in our teachings is Ernest Holmes' final sermon by the sea at Asilomar in 1959. And as the founder of religious science, he said, "Find me one person is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of their soul, and I will find another Savior, another Jesus, and an exalted human being." And if we put those side to side with the quote by Martin Luther King Jr., don't we see that in Martin Luther King Jr.? And don't we see that in the founder of religious science, Ernest Holmes? There's tremendous confidence and optimism in Ernest Holmes' statement. It's transcendent because it points to the human experience that no longer creates enemies, which is exactly what Martin Luther King is pointing to too, right? Well, in the beloved community, there are no enemies. Absolutely none. Absolutely none. When we're all in, our whole being is in for human liberation, and we give our egos the rest they need, we create the conditions to live in the exalted state. And we create the beloved community. One of my favorite shows right now is Ted Lasso. Has anyone watched it? Some people? Okay. I love that show. And the tagline that comes up whenever you put it on is kindness makes a comeback. I love that. I believe it is so popular because it characterizes or it demonstrates some of our deepest yearnings as human beings. Basic kindness and compassion in a world that is filled with complicated relationships, complicated beliefs, and rash behaviors. It is a tender series with tender characters who combine the qualities of the two proverbs I began this talk with. In the series, there is the energy and naivete of youth combined with wisdom of the elders who are themselves still growing, and the ideas of teamwork and going further than is possible to go alone. We can equate the team with the beloved community. The economics and power struggles of the sports complex are present, but Ted's commitment to kindness and the personal development of each of the players is paramount to him. He's there for them. He's all in for them. The episode that sticks with me is when Danny Rojas makes the kick that kills the mascot of the team, this pretty little greyhound. And he is the most upbeat, enthusiastic player on the team who always shouts blissfully, "Football is life." That's his energy, right? It's football is life. Suddenly, he's thrown into an existential crisis when football is not always life. His depression and aversion to getting back into the game are beyond the skill level of even Ted Lasso. And I learned a term in the series. It's called the yips. Maybe people who know sports have heard it. I never had, but they said he had the yips. And I listened to George Mumford this morning, and he talked about the yips. And I thought, oh, okay, that's a real thing, the yips. And, and I started thinking about, yeah, there's been times when I had the yips, right? Sometimes when we have to, getting up here on Sunday morning, sometimes I get the yips, am I going to have the right words? And I go off in my head into that ego space of fear and all of that. Well, Danny Rojas finds himself in this place of crisis, and the coach can't do anything about it. So Dr. Sharon Fieldstone is called in to help Danny Rojas and the entire team. The realization that football is also death frees Danny from depression and the inability to play. He comes back stronger than ever when he's able to embrace all of life, which also includes death. And he he epitomizes being in the flow. After his epiphany, flow has an added dimension. You know, it's not all about football is life. It has this broader feeling to it. Football is also complicated. Football also has other consequences. And yet, in order to get over the yips and be the best player that he can possibly be, he has to embrace all of it. And that transformation is a transcendent moment in this series. What we see on the screen is interdependence with team members, coaches, the staff, the owner, and even the fans and sports commentators and the journalists who follow the team. This is a microcosm. You know, this is another example of how the beloved community can take place in every kind of situation. So that series, centering kindness, centering that idea that we are all in this together, that we can go further together than we can alone, is so powerful. And there's so much scientific evidence now to back this up, you know, to back up this ancient wisdom, this real ancient wisdom. You know, we do find ourselves with 21st century challenges that are tremendous. And we have come so far in our spiritual evolution too. Ernest Holmes reminds us in his final sermon by the sea what we are about as religious scientists. Quote, "I would that we should not build out of the body of our simplicity, grandeur, and beauty other creeds loaded with superstition, a fear of the unknown, and a dread of the unseen. We have discovered a pearl of great price. We have discovered the rarest gem that has ever been found, setting in the intellect of the human race. Complete simplicity, complete directness, a freedom from fear and superstition about the unknown and about God." Unquote. As we take this into our hearts, knowing that we have simplicity, grandeur, and beauty as our foundation. As we practice self-mastery, we cannot be overtaken by superstition, like the grand conspiracy theories that have been resurrected by fearmongers. We know that God is all there is. And as we come into deep communion and mystical union with the divine, we are all emissaries of the beloved communities. Thich Nhat Hanh says, the larger your beloved community, the more you can accomplish in the world. We build the beloved community, and we know that love lives here in the hearts of all of us. We allow it to flow, and so it is. Let's turn within. Oh. And just resting in the knowledge that God is all there is, and love is ever present. I know that, there is only one power and in one presence in me and in all the world, and that is God, the good, magnificent. That is exactly who each and every one of us is as well. Everything that God is, we are. And as we step into this flow of life, as we step into accepting everything that life has to offer. As we enter into the challenges of life with great, great joy, we come out ever stronger. Every one of us who made it here today through the challenges of making our way through an incredible maze, we grew out of that experience. And that's exactly what we do in life. And I know that's what life is for, as our personalized curriculum to come closer to God, to come closer to one another, and to know that we are never separate from life and its ever process of creation. We are a part of that. We are it. We are one. And I allow all of this good to flow over us. And so it is.
Something great is happening, love is taking hold and it won't let go of us now.
Something here is calling us forward, upward motion. We're drops in one ocean, roll on.
Will you get up with me today? Lift up your voice and boldly say, all the ones who've been waiting for. Live the dream that your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change when we're all creating. It's the moment for all our greatness. Let's stand together now. Oh, oh, yeah, yeah. Every day's a chance you can do something amazing to feel your passion inside.
Paint with every vision and dance in new directions. Explode to new heights in your mind.
Will you rise up with you today? Lift up my voice and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Live the dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your thanks with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's the moment for all your greatness. Let's stand together now. Yeah. Oh, oh, oh.
One dream, one voice, one heart, one world. One dream, one voice, one heart, one world. One dream, one voice, one heart, one world. Stand together. Live the dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with a world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's the moment for all our greatness. Let's stand together now. Live the dream of a highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with a world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's the moment for all our greatness. Let's stand together now.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you again, Jubel, Jeff, Max, Manny. Awesome, awesome. And thank you for a beautiful talk, Reverend Victoria. Outstanding. And so now we have the opportunity to contribute to Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. Your conscious contributions do allow us to continue to do all the amazing things that we do, not only to support this community, but out there in the world. And we are so grateful for your generosity. There are two easy ways to do this. You can do it via text or on our website. To text, you send it to 951-419-5858 with the amount you wish to contribute. And you can also find a link on our website, riversidecsl.org. It's in the upper right-hand corner under the tab Contribute. And then if you are moved to also help our building and grounds team and all the work that we need to do to keep this beautiful facility going, we have a 2 or more fund. And if you're texting, you just add the word more to your text and then it gets to the right place. And of course, anyone who is present here, we've got that beautiful little mirrored vessel in the back where you can put in your contributions. So once again, we are so grateful for your support and love and beautiful contributions. And we do know that God is our source. So we're going to sing about that for a second.
Is my power. God gives you everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks with all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
Beautiful. I just have a couple of brief announcements and then we'll get to our benediction. You can join James Jones and the hospitality crew out there on our front patio for coffee and fellowship immediately after service. Those of you at home, you need to come so you can be part of the fellowship. Just saying. But anyway, we're so grateful to James for leading up that team, and we're getting back into offering coffee to everyone and some treats probably. Also, Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and every year we do an annual Thanksgiving Mana Project. And so right now we're in the process of collecting names of families and individuals who could benefit from a Thanksgiving basket of turkey and all the fixings. So if you would please get a hold of our operations manager, Tricia Cowan. You can reach her in the office Monday through Thursday, 10 to 4. The phone number is 951-683-2343, or you can email her anytime at office@riversidecsl.org. And if you've got names of those individuals and how many are in the family, that's the information she needs. And we would love to, we're collecting all those names. We need them by November 1st, and then we'll move forward with getting the baskets together and doing all that before Thanksgiving. Also, we're going to be visioning for the village and our youth programs, and practitioner Dinah Williams is heading this up. We know Dinah. So get a hold of Dinah if you would like to be part of that visioning process, and or you can email her at dinahwilliams@riversidecsl.org, and just stay tuned. We're going to give you information about when those visionings will take place and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. And so I'm going to ask you to stand for our benediction. All right. It was a slow stand, but there you go. We made it. So please repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Hey, do it a little more enthusiastically, okay? Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. I receive it. And I move love forward. Because love lives here.
Something wonderful is happening to me right now. It's this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. Receive it. And I move it forward because love lives here. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. It's this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. Receive it. And I move it forward because love lives here. Love lives here. Love lives here. Gonna lift up my heart and sing right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside. I'm gonna lift up my heart and sing right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside. Yeehaw! I'm gonna lift up my heart and sing right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside. I'm gonna lift up my heart and sing right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside. We're gonna watch all the runners right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside. We're gonna watch all those runners right here in Riverside, right here in Riverside. Woohoo! Love